The Stormeye Wasteland, a brutal place. Wind howled, lightning cracked. This was Balmond's birthplace. He was an orc, born into a world of suffering where the very air seemed to be filled with despair. The land was harsh, unforgiving, and every day was a struggle for survival. The storms that raged across the wasteland were a constant reminder of the turmoil that plagued this forsaken place. Born into a world of suffering, demons ruled the land. They were merciless, their cruelty knew no bounds. From the moment Balmond took his first breath, he was surrounded by pain and torment. The demons saw the orcs as nothing more than tools for their amusement, and they took great pleasure in inflicting suffering upon them. They feasted on orcish pain. The cries of the orcs were like music to their ears, and they reveled in the agony they caused. The demons were relentless, and their hunger for suffering was insatiable. Every day was a new nightmare for the orcs as they were subjected to the whims of their demonic overlords. Their leader, a brute named Thamuz, reveled in their misery. Orcs were slaves, their lives meant nothing. Thamuz was a towering figure. His presence alone was enough to instill fear in the hearts of the orcs. He ruled with an iron fist, and his cruelty was legendary. Under his rule, the orcs had no hope, no future, and no escape from their suffering. Balmond's father, Berserker, was different. He dreamed of freedom. Unlike the other orcs who had resigned themselves to their fate, Berserker held on to a glimmer of hope. He believed that one day the orcs would rise up and break free from their chains. His determination was unwavering, and he was willing to do whatever it took to see his people liberated. He told stories of orcish heroes, tales of bravery and valor, of warriors who had stood up against their oppressors and fought for their freedom. These stories were a source of inspiration for young Balmond, who listened with wide-eyed wonder as his father recounted the exploits of these legendary figures. Warriors who fought for their people. They were the embodiment of strength and courage, and their deeds were etched into the very fabric of orcish history. These heroes were a beacon of hope in a world shrouded in darkness, and their stories served as a reminder that even in the bleakest of times there was always a chance for redemption. These stories gave young Balmond hope. Hope for a better tomorrow, hope for revenge. The tales of heroism ignited a fire within him, a burning desire to see his people free from the tyranny of the demons. He dreamed of the day when he would take up arms and join the fight for liberation, following in the footsteps of the heroes his father spoke of. Hope for a better tomorrow. Hope for revenge. Balmond's dreams were filled with visions of victory, of a world where the orcs were no longer slaves, but free beings who could live their lives without fear. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay in his path. Balmond clung to these stories. They were his lifeline, his source of strength in a world that sought to break him. The tales of heroism and bravery were a constant reminder that he was not alone, that there were others who had fought and triumphed against impossible odds. They were all he had in this desolate wasteland. In a world where hope was a rare commodity, these stories were a beacon of light that guided him through the darkness. Balmond knew that one day he would become a hero in his own right, and his story would be told to inspire future generations of orcs. Life was harsh. Balmond grew up strong. He fought to survive. Every day was a battle. He trained with his father, learned to fight, to kill. Berserker taught him about honor, about courage. He told him about the axe. The axe was an extension of the orc, a symbol of their strength. Balmond mastered the axe. He was a natural, stronger than the other orcs, faster, more brutal. He was destined for greatness. But greatness came with a price. The demons watched. They saw Balmond's potential, and they feared it. One day demons attacked Balmond's village. They slaughtered everyone, men, women, children, no mercy. Balmond was furious, his blood boiled. He grabbed his axe, he charged into battle. He was a whirlwind of rage. He cut down demon after demon. Their blood stained his axe. The demon leader laughed. He enjoyed the carnage. He underestimated Balmond. With a mighty roar, Balmond split the demon in two. The other demons were shocked. They had never seen such ferocity. Fear took hold. They fled. Balmond had won his first victory. Word spread, an orc had defied the demons. Balmond became a symbol of hope. Orcs rallied to his cause. The rebellion had begun. Thamuz heard the news. He was enraged. He would crush this uprising. He gathered his elite blood demons. They were his most fearsome warriors. Thamuz challenged Balmond, a duel to the death. Balmond accepted. He would avenge his people. The battle was legendary. Two titans clashed. Balmond fought like a demon possessed, but Thamuz was too strong. He wounded Balmond. Balmond fell, defeated. Thamuz stood over Balmond, ready to deliver the final blow, but something unexpected happened. Balmond's blood dripped onto Thamuz's axe. The axe pulsed with energy, dark energy. It surged into Balmond. He felt a surge of power. His wounds healed. He was reborn. Thamuz was shocked. He had never seen such magic. Balmond rose, stronger than before. His eyes glowed red. He was consumed by bloodlust. Balmond attacked Thamuz. He tore through the demon's defenses. Thamuz fought back, but he was outmatched. Balmond shattered his axe. Then he crushed Thamuz's skull. The blood demons were horrified. They fled. Balmond was victorious, but he was changed. The demon blood had corrupted him. He craved more power, more blood. He became a whirlwind of destruction. He led the Orcs to victory after victory, but at what cost? One day a visitor arrived, Alice, the Queen of the Abyss. She had been watching Balmond. She saw his potential and his darkness. She offered him a deal, serve her, and she would give him even more power. Balmond was tempted, but he was also wary. Balmond knew Alice was dangerous. She was known far and wide for her dark powers and cunning mind. Many had fallen victim to her schemes, and her reputation as a sorceress was both feared and respected. Balmond, however, saw an opportunity in her, but he also knew she could help him achieve his goals. Balmond had his own ambitions, and he believed that with Alice's power, he could finally bring them to fruition. They spent hours strategizing, each trying to gauge the other's true intentions. He agreed to her terms. The alliance was sealed with a handshake, a simple gesture that belied the complexity of their agreement. Balmond knew that this partnership was fraught with danger, but he was willing to take the risk, but with his own conditions. He would serve her, but only under specific circumstances. Balmond made it clear that his loyalty was conditional. He would follow her lead, but he would not be her pawn. He had his own agenda, and he would not compromise on it, but only as long as it suited him. The moment her plans diverged from his own, he would walk away. Balmond was determined to maintain his autonomy, even in this precarious alliance. He was not a man to be easily controlled, and he would never betray his people. Alice agreed. She saw the value in having a strong and independent ally like Balmond. She knew that his loyalty to his people was unwavering, and she respected that. It was a quality that made him both a valuable ally and a potential threat. She had her own plans for Balmond. Alice was always several steps ahead, and she had already envisioned how she could use Balmond's strength and determination to her advantage. Her cunning smile hinted at the intricate web of plans she was weaving. She gave him a portion of her power. The transfer of energy was a ritualistic process filled with ancient incantations and mystical symbols. Balmond could feel the surge of power coursing through his veins, enhancing his abilities beyond his wildest dreams. It enhanced his strength and speed. He felt invincible, his muscles bulging with newfound power. Every movement was faster, every strike more powerful. He was ready to take on any challenge that came his way. It also amplified his bloodlust. The power came with a dark side, a primal urge that he struggled to control. His eyes burned with an intense ferocity, and he found himself craving battle and bloodshed more than ever before. He was a force to be reckoned with. His presence alone was enough to intimidate his enemies. He stood tall and powerful, an aura of strength radiating from him. Balmond was no longer just a warrior, he was a living weapon, but the demon blood continued to corrupt him. The power that Alice had given him was not without its price. Dark energy swirled around him, and he could feel the demonic influences gnawing at his soul. It was a constant battle to maintain his humanity. He struggled to control his rage. The inner turmoil was relentless, and Balmond found himself on the brink of losing control. His rage was a double-edged sword, giving him strength but also threatening to consume him entirely. He was becoming the very monster he had sworn to destroy. The transformation was gradual but undeniable. Balmond looked at his hands in horror, realizing that he was losing the battle against the darkness within. He had to find a way to reclaim his soul, before it was too late. Balmond led the Orcs to victory after victory. His name became synonymous with triumph and power. Every battle he fought with a ferocity that was unmatched. His enemies trembled at the mere mention of his name. The Orcs under his command became an unstoppable force, sweeping across the lands like a relentless storm. He crushed anyone who stood in his way, humans, demons, even other Orcs. No one was safe. His ruthlessness knew no bounds. He was a force of nature, a whirlwind of destruction. The battlefield was his domain, and he ruled it with an iron fist. His enemies fell before him like wheat before the scythe. He built a throne of skulls and iron, each skull a testament to his conquests, each piece of iron a symbol of his unyielding will. This throne was not just a seat of power, but a monument to his legacy. It stood as a grim reminder of the price of defiance. He ruled with an iron fist. He became a tyrant, but he didn't care. His only concern was the strength and survival of his people. He believed that only through absolute power could he ensure their safety. His rule was harsh, but it was effective. The Orcs prospered under his reign, even as they feared him. He had achieved his goal. The lands were his, the enemies vanquished. He stood atop a world he had conquered, a world that now bowed to his will. But as he looked over his domain, a question began to gnaw at him. Was this truly what he had fought for? He had freed his people, but at what cost? The bloodshed, the endless battles, the lives lost. The weight of his actions began to press down on him. He had become the very thing he once despised, a tyrant, a monster, but he couldn't turn back now. The path he had chosen was set in stone. He had become a monster. His reflection showed a face twisted by power and rage. The eyes that once held dreams of freedom now burned with a relentless hunger for control. He was feared by all, even his own people. But fear was a tool he wielded with precision, but he was their monster. Despite his terrifying visage, his people remained loyal. They saw him as their protector, their shield against the chaos of the world. He had given them a future, a chance to thrive, and for that they would follow him to the ends of the earth. And he would protect them at all costs, no matter the price, no matter the sacrifice. His people were his life, his reason for everything he did. He would stand guard over them, a sentinel against any threat. His resolve was unbreakable, his determination unwavering, but deep down, a flicker of his old self remained. The dreams of a young Orc who wanted nothing more than freedom for his people. That flicker was a reminder of who he once was and who he could have been. It was a small, fragile light in the darkness of his soul. He knew he was on a dark path, but he couldn't stop. The power, the responsibility, it was all-consuming. He was trapped in a cycle of violence and control. Each step he took led him further into the shadows, away from the light of his former dreams. He was trapped by his own power. The very strength that had brought him victory now held him in chains. He was a prisoner of his own making, bound by the throne of skulls and iron. And as he sat upon it, he wondered if he would ever be free. Balmond's reign continues. He is a force of nature, unstoppable, unbreakable. He has achieved power beyond his wildest dreams, but he is not satisfied. He craves more power, more blood. He will not rest until he has conquered everything. The world trembles before him. His name is whispered in fear. He is Balmond, the bloody beast, and his reign of terror has just begun.